I used hand sanitizer 20 to 30 times per day as a healthcare worker. Then, Valisure Labs tested 260 brands and found benzene, a known carcinogen that causes leukemia, at levels 8 times higher than the FDA limit. The worst part? It was in a Star Wars Baby Yoda bottle marketed to children. Today, I'm showing you the banned ingredient that's still in your hand sanitizer. Look, I'm not anti-hand sanitizer. It saved lives during the pandemic. But here's what they didn't tell us. In 2019, the FDA banned 28 active ingredients from hand sanitizers, including triclosan and benzethonium chloride. These chemicals failed to meet basic safety standards. But in 2021, something worse emerged. Valisure, an independent lab that tests drug products, discovered benzene contamination in 21 out of 260 hand sanitizers tested. That's 8% of the market. And here's the kicker. Benzene is classified by the World Health Organization as a known human carcinogen. It causes leukemia and other blood cancers. A 2022 study published in Environment International tested 200 hand sanitizers. The result? 31% contained benzene, and 5% exceeded the FDA's interim limit. Today, I'm breaking down 3 studies that explain why this ingredient is banned in multiple countries, why it's still in American products, and what you need to check on your bottle right now. First, let's talk about what the FDA actually banned in 2019. The agency issued a final rule prohibiting 28 active ingredients in over-the-counter hand sanitizers. The 2 most common were 1. Triclosan, an antibacterial chemical that's been banned in the European Union, Canada, and multiple U.S. states for use in consumer products. And 2. Benzethonium chloride, which manufacturers couldn't prove was safe for long-term daily use. According to the SDA's own statement, quote, manufacturers did not demonstrate that these ingredients are safe for long-term daily use. But here's what most people don't know. The FDA didn't ban everything. 3 ingredients, ethyl alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, and benzalkonium chloride, are still under review. Translation: the most commonly used ingredient in hand sanitizers, ethyl alcohol, has never been fully proven safe for the level of use we saw during the pandemic. Now, triclosan is mostly off the market. Good. But then something worse appeared. Benzene contamination. And this wasn't an active ingredient someone added on purpose. It was a contaminant, sneaking in through low-quality ethanol or manufacturing processes. A 2021 investigation by Valisure found that of the 21 contaminated products, 50% were manufactured in China, 34% in the United States, and 2% in Mexico. The top 3 brands tested between 6 to 8 times higher than the FDA's interim limit of 2 parts per million. So what is benzene, and why is it so dangerous? Benzene is a volatile organic compound, a VOC, used in rubber manufacturing, oil refining, and chemical production. It's one of the most well-known human carcinogens. According to the International Agency for Research on Cancer, benzene exposure causes leukemia, other blood cancers, bone marrow damage, immune system suppression. Now, here's the scary part. Benzene doesn't just affect you if you ingest it. It absorbs through your skin. A 2022 study published in Environment International analyzed dermal exposure from hand sanitizers. They found that for frequent users, people like me, who were using it 20 to 30 times per day, the average exposure dose was 24.7 nanograms per kilogram of body weight per day. That might sound small, but the researchers calculated the lifetime cancer risk from this level of exposure. For adults, 1.23 times 10 to the minus 5. That's about 1 in 80,000. For children aged 2 to 11, 1.73 times 10 to the minus 5. 1 in 57,000. Both are above the 1 in a million risk benchmark considered acceptable by the EPA. And here's what made me stop using hand sanitizer completely. Healthcare workers are at even higher risk. Dr. Daniel Teitelbaum from the Colorado School of Public Health explained that when you use benzene-contaminated hand sanitizer and then put on gloves, like I did hundreds of times per week, the gloves trap the benzene against your skin and prevent it from evaporating. Quote, "The longer you use it, the greater the risk. I was using it 20 to 30 times per shift, 5 days a week, for 3 years during the pandemic." Here's when I realized I had been poisoning myself. March 2021. I'm working in a hospital, using hand sanitizer constantly. Pump after pump after pump. Between every patient, before meals, after touching anything. Then, Valisure's report drops. I see the list of contaminated brands. And there it is. One of the bottles we were using at the hospital. 6.4 parts per million of benzene. More than 3 times the FDA limit. I did the math. At 5 grams per use, 25 uses per day, 5 days per week. I had been exposing myself to benzene 125 times per week for 3 years. So I stopped, cold turkey. I switched to soap and water whenever possible. And when soap wasn't available, I started checking the Valisure database before buying any hand sanitizer. But here's what really made me angry. The contaminated products included a Star Wars Mandalorian hand sanitizer with a Baby Yoda character on the label. This was being marketed to children, and it contained nearly double the allowable benzene limit. Disney launched an investigation and stopped production. But how many kids had already used it? A 2025 study from Taiwan found that children aged 2 to 11 had the highest cancer risk from benzene exposure in hand sanitizers. Up to 9.33 times 10 to the minus fourth. That's almost 1 in 1,000. Think about that. Kids using hand sanitizer at school, at home, multiple times per day, and we're exposing them to a known carcinogen. So, what can you do right now? First, check the Valisure database. They published a full list of contaminated brands. If your hand sanitizer is on that list, throw it out. Don't finish the bottle. Don't give it away. Throw it out. Second, use soap and water whenever possible. The CDC has been saying this for years. Plain soap and running water is more effective than hand sanitizer at removing germs. Hand sanitizer was always meant to be a backup, not the primary method. Third, if you must use hand sanitizer, look for these things on the label. At least 60% ethyl alcohol or isopropyl alcohol. Made by a reputable manufacturer, Purell Germex, major brands that were tested and had 0 detectable benzene. Avoid no-name brands, especially those bought online or from discount retailers. Fourth, and this is crucial, don't wear gloves over hand sanitizer. If you're a healthcare worker or work in food service, let the sanitizer dry completely before putting on gloves. Benzene evaporates quickly when exposed to air, but gloves trap it against your skin. And finally, advocate for better regulation. The FDA's interim limit of 2 parts per million was created during a pandemic emergency, but the pandemic is over. We need permanent, stricter standards. Write to your representatives. Demand that the FDA ban benzene contamination entirely, not just set an acceptable limit. Here's the truth. Nobody in the hand sanitizer industry wants to say out loud. Soap and water is free, it's effective, and it doesn't come with a cancer risk. Hand sanitizer was supposed to be a convenience, a backup when you couldn't wash your hands. But we turned it into a daily habit. And companies rushed to meet demand without properly testing for contaminants. The result? Millions of people, including children, were exposed to a known carcinogen, and most of us had no idea. So here's what I want you to do. 1. Check your hand sanitizer right now. Is it on the Valisure recall list? Throw it out. 2. Switch to soap and water as your primary method. Save hand sanitizer for true emergencies. 3. If you have kids, check their school's hand sanitizer. Ask the principal what brand they're using. Make sure it's been tested for benzene. And 4, share this video, because every parent, teacher, and healthcare worker deserves to know the truth. I'll link all the studies I mentioned in the description below. And if this changed how you think about hand sanitizer, drop a comment. I read every single one. Thanks for watching. And remember, soap and water beats sanitizer every time.